Vertiv is one of the world's largest IT infrastructure providers for data centers. Joining me now is John Hewitt, President of Americas for the company. John, thanks a lot for talking to me. Before we dive into what Vertiv is doing, what makes an edge strategy successful?
That's a really great question. And I think in order to answer that question, we first have to probably define edge just a little bit. I think the real answer is nobody really knows what edge actually is, right? Because our entire ecosystem is changing today very rapidly. We're moving from this centralized computing and storage environment to a really, really distributed application. What's edge to me might not be edge to you. We had a conversation with a customer in Europe just recently, and in his application, his data center was his factory. But you and I might look at that like a true edge application. So edge is something just outside the data center, outside the traditional environment. And what we really mean by that is we're trying to get something close to the customer because we think that we need to have high latency or low latency. We need to have much better response times. We as users need to have the computational capacity close to us. So beyond that, then, once we've defined edge, and the question is how do we make an edge deployment successful? And for us, what that really means, because the definition is so amorphous, it really means that our solutions have to be very, very flexible. You have to be able to move very quickly, and you have to be agile in the space, because every edge application is almost completely different.
Okay, it has become an application economy as well.
That's correct.
How does the edge economy is working in the Americas, across the continent? Because I assume you also deal with Latin America, North America. Do the markets compare? How's it going in terms of deployments?
That's a really great question. They're evolving completely differently at different rates and paces. Here in the U.S., in kind of core Americas, the edge deployments are driven by things like Netflix, and we're thinking a lot about IoT devices. Saw a really interesting stat this morning. In the next 4 or 5 years, the number of devices, the number of connected devices will triple. We'll have well over, so think about that for just a second, about 3 times the amount of connected devices
today.
Yeah, right. And we'll have almost twice as many connected devices as we have people on the planet. Like every one of those devices is going to be generating data, and all that data has to get stored and then analyzed. I'm jumping sideways for just a second, but one of the really important things is us trying to figure out exactly what's important out of all that data that gets generated, and then doing something with that. So here in the Americas and the United States in particular, a lot of that edge deployment is really around latency reduction, getting very, very close to users. In parts of South America, a lot of the edge deployments are being driven by the need for critical infrastructure to be close to the person. So maybe we're dealing with medical applications or things like that, whereas here they tend to be driven by much more broadband requirements.
Okay. And when it comes to challenges, what are the main challenges? Would you, for example, identify a specific challenge for a specific region of the Americas? Does it change too much, or is it still most the same thing, connectivity, data privacy laws? Because Latin America probably has more data privacy laws, especially Brazil, for example, than North America. How do you see as the main challenges?
Every country has a little bit different application with respect to data privacy laws and requirements. But I think the fundamental challenge really boils down to the application is very specific, and with each customer and with each individual country. We have to make sure that we understand exactly what that application is, and then figure out what the solution is that can help enable their particular success. So again, being able to move very, very quickly, to being agile from a development perspective. Many, many companies right now are shifting into this space to try and provide solutions, but they're not able to respond quickly enough with new product introductions, and so they're trying to repackage stuff that we already have off the shelf in the core data center market. That's not going to work long term. Long term, we're going to need to have edge-specific products that are solving that specific need.
Okay, and for some, Gartner talks about the hype cycle of edge computing that we're getting there, and a lot of people say that by 2020 this is going to happen. Do you think it would actually take a bit longer than that? Do you think there's a bit of a hype around edge computing?
That's a really good question, and the short answer is I don't know. I think probably it's going to happen sooner than we think it's going to, and the reason for that is all of the things that have been driving the need for edge have been going on for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. Right? You think about the factory and that edge application example that I gave you just a minute ago. You think about companies like John Deere as an example, who are deploying technology solutions for farmers so that they can be much more efficient with their planting and harvesting cycle. All of that stuff generates massive amounts of data. Same thing with the data that you and I generate walking around every day with our wearables, et cetera. All that data has to go somewhere. It has to be analyzed so that we can generate value from it.
Okay, and speaking of Vertiv, you've done quite a lot of stuff around edge. I know mostly about Europe, to be fair with you. So in terms of Americas, what are you guys doing? Because you've got the 4 architect types, You build a lot of infrastructure. You are deploying a lot out there. What's the plan for the Americas? What's the strategy for Vertiv?
Here at Vertiv in the Americas, the work that we've been doing over the last 12 months has really been making sure that our entire go-to-market organization is much more nimble and much more flexible, that we're responding directly to our customers' needs.
Okay.
In the old days, as Vertiv and as an industry, we often would walk in and talk to customers with, here's our specification sheet, here's how a particular product type works.
So that's
not the
bureaucracy.
environment. Yeah.
Okay. And what sort of markets are driving most business for Vertiv?
That's a great question. Historically, Vertiv was really focused on the enterprise market, as many suppliers and partners in the industry were. Now, that market has completely changed.
Sure.
And so now, a tremendous amount of our business comes from all over the place. It comes from financials. It comes from the hyperscale market. It comes from the edge space. And within the edge space, a lot of the business is coming from the retail segment right now, as customers like Target and Kohl's and other retail customers automate the information gathering that's happening within their space. You probably heard the example earlier today of a fish farm. That's another edge deployment for us that we just
probably
recently
no one will think about.
Right.
With the hyperscalers, so who are you working with? Are you providing infrastructure to those big guys, the big cloud guys?
All the names that you would imagine.
Okay. And just in the US or outside the US as well?
Outside the US as well.
Okay. And looking into the next 12 months, 24 months, what is Vertiv working on?
Vertiv's working on a tremendous amount of products that are specifically focused and solutions that are specifically focused on the edge deployment. So one of the things that we've been working on is accelerating the rate of new product introduction, bringing new products to market much more quickly.
Okay.
And most of those new products that we'll be launching in the next 12 months are focused specifically on the edge space.
Okay. And will these products just be hardware or would there be software, a mix of both?
The products we're bringing to market, products is probably really the wrong word to be using. They're really specifically architected solutions for a customer's problem.
Okay, so that's Vertiv's next step will be to follow those four active types of data latency, critical life sort of data. Okay, and then we are at the Edge Congress 2018 in Austin, Texas. 12 months we're going to be here again in Austin. What do you think is going to be the number one challenge or the number one trend that we'll be talking about next year or will get fixed in 12 months?
That's a great question. I hope 12 months from now we're actually going to have clean water in Texas.
Okay. Well, this water ban. Hopefully it won't be raining this much.
I think 12 months from now, hopefully we'll have much more definition around what the edge actually means. Vertiv launched the 4 archetype study really as a way to start a dialogue and try and provide a framework around what really matters for each one of those edge solutions and then how do we solve it. Today, edge solutions are unique and they're designed for a specific use case. Tomorrow, we'll probably start to see some level of consistency and demand around specific edge types, which allow us as an industry to be much more efficient in terms of how we're solving those problems.
Okay, John, thanks a lot for talking to me. Don't forget you can follow Data Economy on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and also visit the website on www.data-economy.com.